All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming. First off, I'm Kevin, CTO and co-founder of Aftermath. So today I have the pleasure to be able to talk to you guys about a kind of a discrete feature that we've built called dynamic gas. And so before I really get into this feature, I want to first kind of talk about the problem that we're solving with this. But even before that, I want to talk about a bit why we thought, at Aftermath we should solve this problem. So a quick overview, what is Aftermath? I'll keep this brief, but in short, we are bringing the centralized exchange experience completely on-chain. There's a lot of reasons to do this, a lot of benefits, but from the user's point of view, these benefits largely revolve around the ideas of, trustlessness and transparency. So when I say centralized exchange experience, what exactly do I mean by that? So I like to split this between two different categories. You have when you visit a centralized exchange, you imagine like a full suite of products, right? Everything from money markets to spot markets to perpetuals, right? You expect them to have everything that you want under one UI. But then there's also the UX aspect of a centralized exchange. And with this, you imagine it to be very seamless, Web 2-like experience. Maybe you log in with an email. Maybe you use your credit card to get funds onto your centralized exchange account. So we are doing also, we do the egg. In recent times we've launched an egg. Thought I'd throw that in there. So this is kind of what we're doing, right? And dynamic gas is really, it focuses on the user experience side of it, right? It's not a product itself, but it really helps to solve, bridge the gap between a centralized exchange experience and, a DeFi Web3 experience. So before we really get into dynamic gas, let's kind of talk about what is the user onboarding experience today. And I'll split this between two different steps. First, you need your interface into Web3. This is your wallet, right? Maybe on Sui you're using Sui Wallet. Maybe you're using Nightly. Maybe you're using the MetaMask Snap. Maybe broadening out of Sui. Maybe you're using a wallet from like a crypto exchange, a centralized exchange like Binance Web3 wallet. You have your wallet, right? Your interface into Web3. Maybe you're a little bit more advanced and you have a ledger. Maybe you have the Saga. Maybe you have a phone that's doing that for you. Whatever, you need your interface to interact with Web3. That's your first step, right? Get your interface, get your wallet, get your account. The next, you need to fund it, right? This kind of presents some issues. There's, at a high level, there are two, large, common ways to do this. You can on-ramp fiat into crypto, right? Likely into stables. The next thing you can do is bridge, right? If you have funds already on chain, you can then bridge it from another ecosystem into Sui. The previous talk kind of talked about the issues with wallets, right? And ZK logging kind of solves those issues. With dynamic gas, we don't really focus on that step, right? We focus on the second step of getting funds into your wallet. And there's one large issue with this, right? Once you have funds in your wallet, or before you even get funds into your wallet, you need the native token, right? So Sui, to pay for gas. And that kind of causes a chicken and egg problem, no pun intended, where you need funds already to pay for transactions to get funds on chain, but you can't get funds on there, right? So the issue with gas, that's what we're really trying to solve with dynamic gas, of course. So in comes dynamic gas to the rescue, and this is where the tagline, no Sui, no problem, that's where we get the name. Where dynamic gas lets you pay, it lets you execute transactions while paying for gas in something other than Sui, which is pretty novel, right? It's all using Sui native primitives, which I'll show, but it's really as simple as you just go to our settings, you see a gas section, you click, you select what gas you want. So here you can see I'm using AF Sui, our liquid staking token. I'm not even holding Sui, and I'm still able to execute transactions on Sui, and it's just as simple as going to settings and switching it. And what kind of benefits? Of course, there's the obvious onboarding benefits, right? If you want to get funds onto Sui, it's much easier. You can kind of bridge over. Say you're on Solana, say you're on ETH, you have a native token from another chain. You can bridge these over. Not really have to facilitate with getting Sui first, right? It makes it much easier, right? That first transaction on Sui is much simpler. But then there's the longer-term benefit of maybe you don't want to hold Sui. Maybe you want to hold AFSui. Maybe you want to hold just stable coins. Whatever you want to denominate your entire wallet in, you can do that with dynamic gas, right? You can choose what to hold and hold it 100%, not 99.9%, whatever. You're physically only holding another token, right? So it leads to easier, asset management. So we have the short-term benefits of the first transaction. We have the longer-term benefits of asset management and all that. So let's go one step below that. And what does dynamic gas use? What primitives? I've already done this slide in a previous talk, so I'll go quickly through this. There are kind of two sets of primitives. We have the Sui primitives, and that is programmable transactions. I won't go into that, but we heavily use that for this. And then there's also sponsored transactions. That's also really huge. And then on the aftermath side, we use our aggregator, right? We kind of piggyback off of that, and we kind of combine all of these. The aggregator itself, that's its own product, right? That has its own, feature set and all that, and it itself uses its, set of primitives and integrations across Sui. So yeah, it uses programmable transactions too. So let's go, how do we actually combine these to bring dynamic gas? What does that look like? Let's go a little bit below. So in this scenario, we have the user, and then you have aftermath. So the user is going to be executing a transaction, right? They send this. They want to use dynamic gas, of course. They're sending this transaction first to us, right? We're kind of involved here. But first, the user transaction itself is a programmable transaction, of course. They send this transaction to us. We then do some steps. We validate the transaction, make sure it's going to actually pass. It can actually be executed and all that. If we do pass the validity checks, then the first thing we do is use our aggregator. Say the user wants to pay with AFSui instead of Sui. Say they want to pay with USDC, whatever. We convert that USDC to Sui using our aggregator. So we take that transaction itself, we find it using the aggregator, then we append that transaction to the user's already, whatever they want to do. Maybe it's something unrelated to Aftermath, unrelated to DeFi, right? Maybe there's buying an NFT. Then we append this aggregator transaction onto their transaction already. Now the full user transaction looks like the user transaction, and then you have the aggregator transaction. And then this is where sponsored transactions come in. So we then sign it and we sponsor it, right? We're the ones paying the gas for it. And then we send that back to the user, and then now the user can sign it, and then they can execute it. So dynamic gas itself, it's a relatively simple feature, right, to explain. It's not too complicated. We already have the puzzle pieces. We're just plugging them together. But there are a little bit of ways that we want to adapt it going forward. And the first, because it's using the aggregator, any change to our aggregator results in a change to dynamic gas. So we're working on our changes to aggregator v2. This is going to lead to lower latency if you're executing a transaction with dynamic gas. Everyone loves that. Right, some other small features, but for the most part, for aggregator v2, for dynamic gas, you're going to see lower latency, which is huge. The other thing that we're working on, kind of concurrently with aggregator v2, is an NFT AMM. And initially, this might seem completely unrelated, and it kind of is. But then, if you start thinking about it, when you add it to dynamic gas, what do you get? You get NFTs as gas, which we're really excited about. And especially when you have an egg, you can do egg as gas. So you'll be seeing that soon. That's all I'll say. The other thing, the looking longer term with dynamic gas, the biggest thing that we want to do with it, it's very kind of private right now. You can only use it for Aftermath through our UI and all that, and there's reasons for it. And there's changes we're making internally, and there's changes that are happening on Sui that will kind of result in us being able to open this up. So anyone on Sui who's building a project can integrate with dynamic gas. Any user on Sui can then pay any transaction with any coin, whatever they want. And that's kind of the longer term vision for dynamic gas. It'll take a bit to get there, but this year we're looking for it.